Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has finally arrived. A moment, a miracle, which passes by once every 4 years, bringing every single football fan all around the world together in harmony, celebrating this lovely sport. Whether it's rooting for their country or rooting for their favorite player, the World Cup brings everyone together, makes them forget every kind of sorrow, every kind of work issues that they have, and gives them happiness. Whether it's upsets, whether it's resurgences, whether it's one of them players that comes out of nowhere and lights up the World Cup, or whether there's a dark horse that takes down every single big team, goes through the to the semifinals, to the finals. The miracle of a tournament, the World Cup, has finally arrived, ladies and gentlemen. And to be honest, yesterday's games weren't too great, but in my opinion, you couldn't have asked for a better start to the World Cup. Because Mexico versus South Africa, with the game, such a bad game in my opinion. I didn't like it whatsoever because for me, a football game should be a contest between two teams. And based off of yesterday, you can tell that the game was completely one sided, right? But why I said it's a good start is the fact that the atmosphere in that stadium. The stadium, which is filled with so much history, where Pele and Maradona lifted World Cups, where every fan showed their passion for their country, where they celebrated every single goal, they celebrated every single moment of the game. When South Korea was on the ball, every single fan in the stadium was booing, and when Mexico was on the ball, they were all chanting in happiness. They were just happy to be there and watch their country play football and win the game 2-0. That is what makes World Cup the World Cup. It brought every single person in the world together. And I saw a stat that there were 1.2 billion watchers for the World Cup opener. And that's the kind of magic the World Cup holds. It brings everyone in the world together. Some people don't watch the Champions League, some people don't watch the Prem, some people don't watch La Liga, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, the World Cup is a tournament that's a month long, and where there's no other kind of football that you can watch except the World Cup. So it's a place where all the stars come together, where everyone shows their skill and everyone shows their passion. That's what makes the World Cup the World Cup. And one more thing that made yesterday's game special, yesterday's match day one special, was South Korea. Wow. Wow, what a team. They were playing a three at the back. Ruben Emery, you need to learn how to play that, by the way. But it was such fluid football. When you were watching the game, a lot of people said the first half was kind of bad, second half was better. But for me, I liked the game throughout. Right, the game was actually really good. I liked the way South Africa were playing, and I think we found our arsenal of the World Cup in Czech Republic. Right, but yeah, yesterday you couldn't have asked for a better start for the World Cup. First, let's start with Mexico versus South Africa. South Africa looked like a bunch of amateurs on the field. I'm not gonna lie. It might sound like I'm too harsh or anything, but in front of Mexico, South Africa definitely looked like amateurs. With South Africa coming into this World Cup, you thought maybe the 2010 vibes are back, but I don't think you'd see another player from South Africa like Shabala, right? So I don't know. But one player I did like from South Africa yesterday was, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. 1 second. Mbak Kabokatsi. 1 second. I'm just gonna make sure. Yes, Mbokadzi. Mbokadze, I'm not going to try to pronounce his first name because I know I'm going to mess up. But Mbokadze is a 20-year-old defender that plays for Chicago Fire FC. I thought he was actually really good. He was really physically imposing. He covered ground really well. And I think he shouts championship defender for me, right? He would definitely thrive in like a championship team. Hopefully, come to a Premier League team whatsoever. But I thought he was really good. But we shouldn't be talking about shithole. How do his parents should have had second thoughts while naming him that, because Twitter yesterday had an absolute banger on banger and banger with his name. He dropped a generational stinker. I don't think you could see a worse performance this World Cup. Hopefully not. And the worst thing is it's his World Cup debut, and he plays for one of the biggest teams in South Africa as well. No, not one of the biggest teams. Maybe the second biggest team, right? So this I mean, you can't be dropping that kind of a performance in your World Cup debut. I mean, okay, we can expect a stinker, but that bad of a stinker, that kind of a tackle, you cannot be doing that stuff in a World Cup, man, while representing your country. So it was really easy to troll him, hater central, everyone. It was so easy to troll him, but at the same time, South Africa were there were so many bad players. There were so many bad plays that we were trying to look at it. Like when they were playing the game, when they were down 1-0 as well, they were still sticking to their five at the back system, right? The throughout the game, I think they played like a 5-3-2, and they didn't have any kind of creativity in that midfield. They were not even able to string two passes together. They were trying to play out from the back. They were trying to run that gimmick, but at the same time, they were not able to pass it to the guy that's next to him. They kept losing the ball so much, right? So and two red cards at the end. It was just such a bad game. And speaking from Mexico, Gilberto Mora became the youngest World Cup debutant of all in World Cup history, and I think that's one of the talents recently Mexico has produced. Right, Mexico is not the country that employs Chicharito and players like that or Rafa Marquez. They're not that same 2010 kind of team, but yesterday, I think they played decently well. Like Raul Jimenez grabbed his goal. Rest in peace, Raul Jimenez's dad. He apparently we found out that his father died 2 months prior to the World Cup, and he was crying. He dedicated that goal to his father, which was a beautiful sight to see. And we know what happened to Raul Jimenez as well. Such a big turnaround to his career. You know, he got that injury against Arsenal a few years ago, and then head injury against Arsenal. He was out for pretty long, and coming back at his home stadium in the first game of the World Cup, scoring that header, such a beautiful sight to see, such a beautiful story, and I wish nothing but the best for him at Wolves in the championship next season, right? But the talk of the game yesterday was definitely Julian Quinones, who plays for Al Qadsha. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. In the Saudi League, he won the Golden Boot in the Saudi Pro League as well. But yeah, yesterday's performance was nothing short of amazing. Like he was playing against a bunch of amateurs, in my opinion, but at the same time, I feel like he played such a good game. He created a lot of chances, took the most shots, completed the most dribbles and everything. So I think it was overall a good performance from the Mexican team, right? So that's all I have to say about the game. Nothing much. But moving on to the game of the day. South Africa versus Czech Republic. Oh my God. That was such a good presentation of football. If you wanted, like at the end of the tournament, at the end of the World Cup this year, if we were thinking about what were the classics that we saw this World Cup, and I think one of the first games that come to your mind is definitely South Africa versus Czech Republic, right? The kind of football South Korea, not South Africa, sorry, South Korea were playing yesterday, right? Such great football, and in the middle of that, the person that was holding that whole game together was Kangin Lee. What a player. And I can't believe this guy's on the bench for PSG, right? Of course, I mean, it's such a hard team to break into, but PSG even have ballers on the bench. Like he was linked to Atletico Madrid, I think, but right now, if he keeps up these kinds of performances throughout the World Cup, his stocks are going to be so high. He's going to be that kind of Enzo Fernandez type player that we got post the World Cup, where he was sold for what 120, 100 mil, 120 million to Chelsea, and that's the kind of player Kang In Lee is looking like. I think everyone knew Kang In Lee was a good player, off the bench for PSG. He does his own thing. He weaves through defenses and stuff. But I think we really saw what kind of a player Kang Lee is yesterday. He's like a Vitinha, right? He's basically kind of like a Vitinha, right? So I really loved Kang Lee's performance yesterday, as everyone did in social media. They're praising him. For me, he was definitely man of the match. But the person that won the man of the match for Korea was in Hong. I think I remember he played for Olympiacos in the 22-23 season. He was good, but then he moved. I think he moved to Netherlands. He played for Feyenoord. No, he played for Quenasweda, right? So then now he plays in Feyenoord. Such a great performance yesterday, right? He was moving through that midfield. He made Thomas Suchek run for that ball. He owned that midfield. He completely played the Czech's midfield out, and I think he had such a great performance yesterday. He grabbed that goal, and the second goal was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful passing play. I think they completed around 25 to 30 passes before finally got he chipped it over the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper was coming out, and that was such a beautiful finish. He just chipped it over, and then the goal went in, and they took that goal brilliantly. And I think South Africa played nothing short of a terrific game yesterday. And it was, even though they played their best football in the first half, they Czech Republic still took the lead over them, which is I think their first shot on target, and I think everyone anticipated that kind of a goal to be Czech Republic's goal, a set piece right off a throw in, and I think that was the kind of goal that you expected Czech Republic to score, because look at the everyone in Czech Republic was almost. Everyone was almost over 6 foot tall, and I think no one except the goalkeeper in South Korea was over 6 foot tall. So you knew that Czech Republic's goals were going to come off set pieces, and Thomas Suchek almost scored a goal, but it was deemed offside. But yeah, I think the game plan of Czech Republic was nothing but terrible. They also employed a three at the back, but there was nothing close to what South Korea was playing. And I think this is the kind of football that we're going to see from Czech Republic throughout this World Cup. We're gonna see them score set pieces, try to defend, play on the counter, basically like Arsenal. And I'm not expecting too much from them, I guess. So South Africa versus Mexico, sorry, South Korea versus Mexico is probably going to be the game to watch out for in this group. And today we have Canada versus Bosnia and USA versus Paraguay, and we will be back. Peace out.